Okay, happy Thursday. Our first LinkedIn Live in a month.
Woo!
So very exciting. We've had a lot happen in the last month and talk about a busy season this year, right? But you know what? 15 minutes is only 15 minutes, and we're very excited to be here for you. Again, this is our live and unfiltered. It's not scripted. We might have a bullet point or two to keep us on track, but we don't know what we're going to say today, and we're very excited. So I'm Jack Holder, and this is...
Good morning, Heather Sims.
Heather Sims. So Heather, today, what are we talking about?
We are talking about embracing change. I think that's something everyone can relate to in one way or another, given the current climate and situation. And also, of course, as it relates to our business industry. So I think there's a lot to talk about around that topic that's worth conversation.
Wait, you mean things don't stay the same way forever? We can't just bottle it up and keep it that way and, live in the past forever?
I mean, I wish we could sometimes. I know I feel that way when I look at my kids, right? And I think, oh, Tucker, you're so cute. He's 4, I'm like, I wish I could just bottle this up. But half the fun of having a child is watching all the change and watching them grow and all of that, right? Which, I mean, I guess we can liken that to our baby of a business that we're growing as well, right? So yeah, while we like things, when they're good to stay the same, the reality of it is they don't. That's some verbiage I heard a lot in the last 10, 12 years in the business. Is the only thing that stays the same is the change, right?
Everything changes.
Yeah.
It's one of the inevitable. So, there's a couple different types of change, right? There's forced change and there's proactive change. So let's talk about forced change first. And forced change is really all about, you don't have a choice. It's changing no matter what, right? Time marches on, and some things we can't predict. And those are probably one of the hardest, or maybe we can predict them. It's just slowly, and it's that fear that's holding us back. But let's talk about the ones that we don't expect. You had a pretty big one in your life not too long ago that was a forced change that you'd adapt to. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Again, sometimes that change is forced on you. And I think a lot of people have a hard time with the unknown and the uncertainty. So when we came home to a garage in our home, which luckily my whole family was out before anyone got harmed. And that was the most important thing in the end. But our whole house, I mean, the garage burned, and then we had asbestos, and it totally lost, they totally lost our entire home. And that was in October of 2019. We were in our first year of business, our first open enrollment busy season, of leaving a business I'd known for 10 plus years. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know. I mean, you can imagine coming out of that situation, you just put one foot in front of the other and hope the next day is better. And so having that feeling of uncertainty and change, that was 100% forced on me. And of course, the eternal optimist and positive person, I always think there's positive things that can come out of any situation. And there were a lot of positive things that did, but it forced me into change. And what was really interesting is that happened in October of 2019. So fast forward a couple months, now we're March of 2020. COVID hits. And so I had this situation that I was going through alone, not alone, of course, with my husband and my family and much support, but something that only I was dealing with, right? And while a lot of people could give me sympathy and some could give me empathy who had gone through it a little bit before, they didn't have that experience I was having, right? So then when COVID hit and we had this community experience of everyone going through the same thing and being able to commiserate a little bit and have those conversations and understand what it felt like to be isolated at home or not know what the next day is going to bring. It was really interesting for me to have that contrast of those two situations. Both were forced change and a lot of change. And I think in the end, it makes you a stronger person. I didn't have a choice, but yes, so those have been my forced changes over the last couple of years on the tail end of a change that I proactively made, right? Moving into starting our business and then having those changes forced on me.
Yeah, so it was tough times going through it. So imagine this. She's going through the whirlwind of this storm of change. And that's right. Uh, she just came into EBIS, or we just started EBS right at the end of that first year. House burns down, all this. And then COVID happens. So you compound all of this in this huge storm. But at the end of the day, did everything turn out okay?
Yeah, it did. We were blessed.
And your house, by the way, now is a brand new, beautiful home. It's fantastic. Very envious, by the way. My wife wants your counter that's the size of 5 houses. But yeah. And then we get into proactively adapting or changing. And there's different reasons that move us to change, right? And I might geek out a little Star Wars here, and right, you can follow the evil empire and you can march down that path that's given to you, or really the common society is pushing you towards, or you can go with your heart and go with your gut and be like the rebels, hence why I wore the shirt today, and fight against what you believe is wrong. And that might be pretty strong, but it's really what can motivate us and drive us, right?
Right.
Because what happens is if we keep doing the same thing every day just because we feel like we have to, we feel like there's no other options, what happens when we look up many years down the road?
I mean, you're in the same place, and yeah, we haven't progressed, or some people are just unhappy, right? And I don't necessarily think that means that everyone has to rebel per se, right?
Right.
But if that's your calling, or that's what you truly feel and you're drawn to that, then that's where some people are going to go. And by those people going there, they create the space and the path and the opportunity for others to follow, right? So not everyone needs to be the leader charging forward with all the change, but someone does to create that sometimes, right? And I think kind of likening it to, yes, all of Jack's wonderful Star Wars references. When you make that decision to proactively make that change and your whole heart's there and you've put it out there, then experiences and people and things are going to come into your life to help you along that path, right? So we're back to Star Wars with all of the support that he had from different mentors and people coming in. And, my brain's starting to go a little bit to the conversation that Brad Davis had when we were at our local Sadahu event and talking about, the path, because this is a whole thing that's done throughout all the movies, right? And books, it's the path of the resistance and the least, kind of pushing through. So you see that woven in movies and also in life.
Well, that's why I like Star Wars so much. Although something I'm a major Star Wars fan, not necessarily, but I do like Star Wars. But I like so much what's behind it, and it's that path of change. And it's just because it's the way that it is doesn't mean it's the way it has to be. And to me, that's pretty fun. To me, that's pretty important. So how do we really adapt to some of this? And Heather, you hit some of it on the head. We find coaches and mentors along the way, people that have done it. I remember, and some of you heard me give a shout out to Eric Silverman before. I reached out to Silverman long before EBIS was created, and I asked him what he had done, because he had left and started his own thing. And it's maybe not exactly what I wanted to do, but I'll tell you, people that have gone through it are more than willing to share with you what they've done. And it might not be exactly what you want, but it'll give you some pointers or some things to look towards. And more importantly, I think it gives you hope that it can happen, because when you're in it, there's nothing more scary than that change. And more importantly, that uncertainty, because you don't know what's going to happen. So it gives us that fear. And, but that's why we're all here to help each other. I got a call, Heather, I don't think I shared this with you. I got a call from somebody completely different company than we've ever worked with yesterday. And he's like, I'm thinking about going out on my own, completely different state. He'd seen a few things that I've done, and we were introduced by others. And he just started asking me questions, because he's going through that fear right now. But you know what? When you make up your mind, if it's that change that you want proactively, everything becomes clear and easy. When it's the hardest is when when you haven't decided, when your heart doesn't know. At least that's my thought.
No, I'd agree.
Whew. So what happens if we don't change, though?
What? Sorry?
If we don't change, if we don't adapt, we talk about it in our office a lot. It's adapt or die.
Right. And that's near to me because I'm a biology buff, right? So I was always very intrigued with biology. I have a biology major from Arizona State, go Devils, and psychology too. I have a double major because I love, the biology of things, and then the, thinking and all the things that come along with that. So, you learn about, like, literally adapt or die comes from us as biological beings, right? Adapting over time to our environment. Which is why, you start to see animals move and get bigger or change to different colors to adapt to their environment, and the ones that don't literally die. So, like, when we say adapt or die, that comes from biology, right? And kind of having that perspective, when you're looking out and you're seeing something, it's like, do you want to be the one? Oh, yep. Do you want to be the one that's, cowering and wondering what's going on, or do you want to be the one that, is aware and adapting to what's going on? And I think for our industry and our business, COVID had a big effect on people. Talk about the forced change, right? So we saw a lot of businesses that said, oh, no, we don't want technology. Like, our people can't go on their phones. They don't know what they're doing. Just give us the paper forms, right? That all of a sudden we're going, oh, I guess we do need to do this because everyone's at home now. And it was forced change. And we talked about how that really sped up our industry 5 years in technology, and it made a lot of people uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that weren't doing it, or at least proposing those solutions to try and guide their client, might, die in the end, in the sense of the old way of doing things and being stuck in that and not embracing the change, which is what we're talking about, right? Because when it's forced on you, sometimes we push against it. But if you can embrace what's going on, then you're more going with the flow instead of being resistant to it, right?
Yep. Thank you, David. Appreciate that comment. Michael, hi in Colorado, by the way. And love all these great comments. And let me pull up a couple. Yeah, absolutely. And then, what would be a power mindset that helps move from inaction to action? I think that we have to address this. Thank you for that question. And I know we only got a few minutes left. I had a couple of things I wanted to talk about, but this is pretty important. So how do we go from inaction to action? That's the hardest part. Would you all agree? Or would you agree, Heather? I
mean, I would. Yeah. I think that's the hardest part for people to get over, right? Is to get out of their own way and take that first step. Sometimes we got to count, right? I know Jack likes to count. I know when I was jumping off a bridge, bungee jumping in New Zealand, I had to count down from 3, and that was the only way I was going to go. Just go.
Yes. So there's a few things I think that will help us go from inaction to action. And one of the big ones I have to point out, special shout out to the NAHU Power Hour from F&F committee yesterday. Fantastic event. If you're missing those, make sure you pay attention to those and join us next time. But there was a gal, I won't mention her name. She'll probably maybe comment later, but she went from not branding herself, really more the old way of branding the company or doing things slightly different, to embracing social media. And I think one of the biggest things that we can do today is brand ourselves. And she created her own brand. Fantastic. Very proud of her. Very energetic. And she said it just felt weird. Well, how did she do this? It's through the influence of others and seeing other people do it. So I think there's a couple of things that we can hit on here while we have a couple minutes left if we push it.
Right. And let me speak super quick to my answer to Michael's question earlier. And someone said surround people that challenge them. I think that's great. And I'm going to take it up even another level. And that is, you got to have the vision in front of you.
Yes.
Right. You have to proactively create that vision and what's drawing you in your head. And everyone's a little different in how they create that, or they manifest that, or they put them in front of them. For some, it's a vision board, right? For some, it's, putting that end goal and kind of thing you're looking to create in front of your mind to help draw you to what you're looking to do, instead of letting that fear holding you back. And when people can be drawn to that vision and that why that we talk about, I think that's how you move from inaction to action, in addition to all the things we just talked about.
Spot on. You took the words out of my mouth. I know we probably have a little sync going on here, but I wanted to so Simon Sinek, if you've never paid attention to that, I'm a huge believer in Simon Sinek. Look at some of his works, because people change for different reasons, but a lot of it is why. And then you don't always have to have your own vision. And I think that we get hung up here, that you can look to others that might have a vision. And of course you have your own goals and drive and all that too. But some of us might be a little bit better at a vision than other. And that's okay. That's why working together as a group. And I think that that's building a team around you that you can bounce ideas off of, that can help push you. So a lot of these good comments that have come so far, I think, are key. Writing down, even just taking a moment to write down what you're looking to do. There's another exercise that I did, and I think it was, oh my gosh, I can't even remember the name of it. I'll think of the book later, where it talks about entrepreneurism, and where it talks about looking forward in the future. And if you're sitting in your rocking chair as an old person and you look back on life, are you where you wanted to be? Or are you on the path where you want to go? And that was probably one of the hardest decisions I ever made, was when I left a great company, Aflac, which many of you know that story. And I remember I had this idea, and it's public because you can actually look up our corporation. 2017, I filed for enhanced benefits insurance solutions. And I think what happened is I could have stayed with Aflac, great company. And I think there's a lot of great opportunity there. But if I would have sat on my porch when I was in my 60s or 70s, and I didn't accomplish as much as I thought I could, because I was afraid of that change, I think I would have had a hard time finishing life. So that was a big thing that helped me to take action, was to look forward, have intentional time, and then also bounce ideas off of others. So, and then there's a lot more to inspire change throughout that, like having your goals and making it more simplistic. But you have to have the long term, then take it off in bite sizes, and then have a team around you. And if we don't embrace change, team, then I think we're going to be in a world of hurt down the road. So anyways, we could talk about this forever. Huh?
We could. And, I will commend those, partners that we're currently working with, or those that are doing it on their own, that are, in our industry specifically, making those changes and adaptations that they believe and that we believe need to be made, and we're all doing together. So shout out to those who are doing that, because it can be scary. And if you're not, take some of what we're saying and build a community around you and be intentional if that's something you want to do. Again, not everyone does. So everyone's at different places, and just embracing the change is the first thing that we can all do to help us along the way.
But we all have change at some point, right?
Yeah.
It's whether we're forced to change or we proactively change. And we do not want a mistake. Chasing shiny is a positive. That's not always the positive either. I just want to throw in that little asterisk there. Right. Just because you're always going after the shiny doesn't mean it's right. You have to evaluate it, take time, use your mentors, your center of influence. Heather, love you to death. Thank you for another great day. And
this is always fun. Like we said, it's unscripted, it's genuine and raw. I feel like there's not a lot of not out there like that anymore. We didn't want to take 10 recordings and outtakes to make sure, my hair was the right way and that my angle was great. So, we are raw, live, and unscripted. Thank you for joining us. Please join us again next month. We are keeping these consistent, trying to keep them to 15 minutes for you. So thank you for joining us today.